Hello there, you gorgeous human. Hello. Let me just get rid of this. I want to say hi. Hi there. My name's Rachel, and a huge and awesome welcome to my training, The Art of Intentional Parenting. I am so excited and grateful to share what I'm going to share with you over the next hour. And I already know that if you want to be the very best parent that you can be, I already know that you are in the right place. So what's going to be happening over the next hour? We are going to be going super deep on some really big topics. So to get the most from this training, it would be really helpful for you to go and get a piece of paper and a pen, because this training is about stopping winging it and starting owning it. There's some questions and there's some exercises for you to do, and we are going to stop winging it and we are going to start owning it right now so that you can parent like a total rock star and raise a wholehearted and confident child. So life is busy. Life is crazy, and I know this because I have two children of my own. This is your moment for you to really take a step back from your parenting, and the invitation is there for you to do that, because if you change nothing will change. So today we're going to start with making commitments to make different decisions, and it is my intention over the next hour to blow your minds over what is possible for you, what is possible for your children when you change the way that you think and feel. Now, let me bring this back for you. Let's dig in and let's talk about what we're going to be covering today. So we're going to be talking about all the things that you are probably doing right now that means you're not being the parent or the person that you really want to be, why it's not your fault, and most importantly, what you can do differently. I hate these trainings when you show up and they're like, these are all the mistakes, but then they don't tell you what to do. We're also going to talk about what you need to do things differently, okay? We're also going to be talking about the thing that stops both you and your child from living to their fullest expression. And I think this one's going to really surprise you. And last but not least, we're going to be talking about thoughts, feelings, subconscious programming, energetic frequency, and of course, the answer to all of it. So let me just bring up my notes to make sure we get everything. So you're in the right place, babes, if you are completely lost and overwhelmed and are really struggling in your parenting role, but you know you want to do better. Perhaps you are reacting in ways that is leaving you feeling like, but you want to raise an awesome human. You're also in the right place if your child struggles with big emotions, like meltdowns or hyperactivity, or they struggle with low self-esteem or low confidence, and you just want to help them be the very, very best versions of themselves that they can be. You are in the right place. You're also in the right place if you are already down with the world of personal growth and you really want to know how you can bring this into your parenting and how you can introduce this to your children in a way that they can understand. Okay, so that's what we're going to be covering today. So I want to work with parents who want to just look back on this period of their lives and know that they freaking owned it, you know? There's not one parent that I speak to that doesn't want to go back in time and spend more time with their children. You have the most precious window of opportunity, which we're going to be talking about in a little minute. And you want to own this, possibly with some leopard print or some red lipstick as we're going away. Now, I am the founder of LaLa Tigers, so there is going to be some rah and earning your stripes and finding your rasum and all those kinds of things. It's all a little bit of fun. I hope you enjoy. So if you're winging it right now, right, I would love for you to own that now. I would love for you to just start writing down in your journal that you're winging it and it's time for change. So maybe you could start by just writing that down. Okay, so who am I to teach all of this? Well, my name is Rachel, as I said earlier. I'm the founder of a musical educational platform called LaLa Tigers. I am a TEDx and international speaker. I work very deeply on personal transformation with parents. I'm a coach. I'm an NLP practitioner. So anyone's not familiar with NLP, this is neuro-linguistic programming. And this is really our ability to change perspectives, use different language, reframe, open up situations, which I am a badass at. I'm also a hypnotherapist, which means I'm fascinated with belief systems and how they form in early childhood, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. I'm a timeline therapist. I'm creator of the Raise a Tiger program and Fear to Fierce experience. And most importantly, this is where I really earned my stripes, I'm also a full-time single parent to two incredible children who I've raised completely single-handedly for the last 7 years. Now, everything we're going to talk about today, I just want you to know that I come from the trenches. Okay, I'm not sitting here in my ivory tower going, this is what you should do. These are all the mistakes that I have made and more. And when we talk about winging it, I was quite possibly the wingiest winger of winging town when I first started my parenting journey, because kids don't come with a manual, right? Now, the picture of me on the right is me 7 years ago. I'm sending that incarnation of me so much love, that expression of me. She was having a tough time, you know. And at this point in my life, I had experienced what can only be described as a complete and utter breakdown. I'd been in a marriage that was not serving me, been in that relationship for about 13 years. I had lost both my brother very suddenly at the age of 37, and then my father. And after leaving my marriage, I found myself with post-traumatic stress disorder, and it was just one big hot mess. And raising two children that I was not expecting to do on my own. And my children, I'm telling you now, were like all over the place with meltdowns and aggression and perfection and control issues and nighttime issues. And it was just one big hot mess. And it was the tools that I used to not just reclaim my own life, but also that I brought into my parenting, that I now introduce and share with other parents now. And it's completely changed the way that not only that I work, but how I show up in my life and my parenting and my job and everything. And it's these tools that have taken me from working in a village hall like 4 or 5 years ago, singing Wheels on the Bus and looking like the parent on the right, to now having programs all over the world, working on workshops and retreats all over the world, and delivering workshops for the Early Childcare and Education Expo, which will be my 3rd visit for them as a speaker next week. And we are now looking at introducing this work into early childcare as well. So I just want you to know what is possible for you when you change the way that you think and feel, and how this is then going to impact on your parenting and your children. Because I'm telling you now, the apple does not fall far from the tree. So I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to activate a generation of children. That is my mission. That is what I'm here for. Because as far as I'm concerned, like, the world is in some serious doo-doo right now. And we have this opportunity right now. And why right now is so important is because before age 7, your children are building a lens, a set of beliefs, like a set of stories, if you will, about who they are, what they're capable of, and who they think they're going to be. And this is the lens that they are going to use to view all external stimuli through for the rest of their entire lives. 95% of all of our behavior is happening completely unconsciously, based on the lens and the beliefs that we form in early childhood. So these beliefs are about who a child thinks they are. And that is what we are looking to change. That is what we're going to help you or show you how to do right now, so that you can raise a wholehearted and confident child. Now, I just want to say that the work that I do is generally with younger children of under 7s. And the reason for that is because before age 7, before we have something called a critical factor that forms, our children are in what's called a hyper-learning phase. Now, this is essential for their survival, but it means that they're absorbing absolutely everything into their subconscious mind and accepting it as fact. This is why childhood is such a magical place, right? We believe everything. Fairies at the bottom of the garden. I'm going to say some things now, so if you have children listening, please cover their ears or press pause. Disclaimer done. Okay. This is why we believe in all of the magic, Father Christmas, fairies, all of those things, because we believe everything that is suggested to us, everything that's suggested around us, that we can hear people talking, we're absorbing it. And then around about age 7, a critical factor forms, which is really what we call our age of reason. And that's when we start to question things. That's when the logic kicks in and we start going, yeah, I'm not sure if I believe that. Or we start questioning things. So I just want to reassure any parents of over 7s that are looking at this and going, that is it. I have screwed my child up forever. Like, that is it. I just want to reassure you that, like, I have worked with like parents like Claire here, who joined when Jonah was 8 years old. He's 9 now, just finished the program. And I've worked with parents of children as old as 9 and 10, because it's not like a window that just shuts. You know, we have this opportunity. The younger they are, the more ability that we have to impact their developing belief system and their developing mind. However, our brains don't fully harden until they're about 24, 25. So there's lots and lots of time. And even as adults, I mean, I am living proof, right, that we can access the subconscious mind, but it is much, much more difficult. And we can only then access it either via things like hypnotherapy or via meditation, because that's when our brainwaves slow down to a theta brainwave state, which is where your children are naturally before age 7, before our brainwaves start speeding up. So anybody who's got older children, please don't worry, okay? But I want you to know that you have this window and you have this ability right now, not just to change your own life and not just to impact your child's life, but actually to change the world. And that is what I am here for. Now, my work is completely unique because it works on 3 very distinct levels. The first thing that I'm interested in fact, 90% of the work that I do is in the personal transformation or the undoing. We talk about personal growth and personal transformation, but for me, it's like an undoing of all of the shizzle that has ever happened to you, all of those stories, negative beliefs, emotional wounds that you have gathered over your lifetime. It's about undoing those so that you can stand in your own power. And then it's about increasing attachment. And then it's that connection between parent and child, which is so vital, which is why I use music as a tool. So anybody who's not musical, please don't freak out. All like the work that I do, really all you have to do is like music and press play. I do everything else. So please don't worry about that. But we use increased connection as a conduit. Your parent-child relationship is absolutely everything. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go through today. And then being super intentional about how we're showing up with our children. Okay? So let's talk about the early environment, shall we? Now, for me, the early environment that you are creating right now is absolutely everything. And I know that the acorn analogy can be a little bit overused. Let me just come to you because I think this is really important. But I want you to imagine that your child is exactly like an acorn. And they come pre-packed with absolutely every little piece of information that is required for them to become a mighty oak tree, to live to their fullest expression. And yet it is this in early environment, this, the amount of water it gets, the light, the warmth, the wind chill factor, how much attention it gets, okay, that is actually going to affect how deep the roots go, and therefore whether the acorn is going to become a mighty oak tree. Now, you have this ability right now to create the most incredible environment. And so I have got you today on this training, babes. I've so got you. We're going to be talking about everything that you need to know to achieve the Holy Grail, which is ultimately raising a child who loves, trusts, and believes in themselves, which of course starts with you and how you show up every single day. So before we dig in, okay, because we're now going to go into the 10 signs that you're winging it and how to start owning it. And the invitation, mama, is for you or papa. Can I just say, sorry, representing the dads. I say 99% of the people that come on my trainings are mums, but if there's a papa here, I'm celebrating you as well. I just want you to start owning it. This is your invitation to change, but you can't change anything unless you acknowledge it and you own it. And that is what we are doing today. We are going to be owning it. Okay. So as we go through, the invitation is for you to write down the numbers and the ones that are applying to you so that you can see the things that you need to change and what you need to do instead. So before we start, please, can you just write in your journal for me? I commit to making change, because that is why you signed up for this training. That is what we're here to facilitate today. Okay. Number 1, you are not clear or have clarity on the outcome. And the intention will always define the outcome. And if you don't have a clear defined goal for your parenting, you're going to find it incredibly difficult to get there. Now, what I mean by that is that, like, I know you would not drive 1,000 miles without first looking at a map. And yet parenting is quite possibly the most longest, arduous, backbreaking journey you are ever going to take. And yet so many parents are starting without a clear idea about what's important to them, the kind of values they want to impart, like the kind of relationship they want to have. And parenting is a secondary thing. And I get that. This is not your fault because the world is crazy busy. I genuinely feel that we are kept deliberately busy so that we don't question anything too much. But that's my politics for another day. And all you're doing, parenting is like, you're just like juggle, and you've not sat back and thought about where it is that you want to go. Okay. Now, the problem is if you continue to stay there, you're going to look back on this time and you're going to have regret and you're going to have guilt because you have not been intentional about how you're showing up. In fact, one of the biggest things that you can do is have a very, very clear mission so that you can stand in alignment with it on your actions. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more as we go through. So if this is you, please, please, please own it. Number one, you are not clear on your outcome. Number two. Okay, so here's the problem, and I see this all the time, particularly with mamas, actually, is that you are not even on your list, let alone at the top of it, right? But of course, the problem with staying there, right, is if you do not prioritize your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being or your own personal growth, first of all, you're going to end up resentful, bitter, stagnant, angry, depleted, exhausted. Does this sound familiar to anybody? And you are running around on empty, giving everything to everybody. And here's the thing, you wake up and it's Groundhog Day and it's like, but here's the thing, if you do the same thing in the same way, you are going to get the same result. You have to put yourself on the list, babes. You have to start to grow, because I just want you to think about what it is that you are teaching your children right now by doing that. You're training your girls to be martyrs. You're training your girls to be overgivers. There are so many women that love and give too much. We're going to talk about boundaries as we go through this as well. So if this is you and you are not even on your list, please own that. That is something that needs to change right now. Number three. You are reacting on autopilot. And what I mean by that is, remember we talked about belief systems earlier. You are getting triggered and you're reacting not in alignment with your values, but actually because of the core wounds and negative stories that you are carrying around about yourself. And we're going to explain more about this as we go through. But if you aren't tuned into yourself, the problem with staying there is that you are going to live in overwhelm and guilt and shame. And you do not want to have these in your energy field or your psyche. Okay? Unless you're able to connect into yourself and know exactly what is going on, you are going to find this very difficult to change. What you have to do is respond, not react, in alignment with what you know is important to you and the intention and the outcome that you want, which is what we talked about in point one. So if this is you and you find yourself being triggered, if you find yourself going, and when you know that like anger is just a request for healing, that's all that it is. And when you are getting angry and getting triggered, it is telling you that there is inner work to be done. And as within, so without. It is written. That is how it is. In fact, all of the work that we do is all on the inside. And the more you change on the inside, the more your external reality begins to shift. Something we're going to talk about a little bit later. Okay, so if this is you, please own it. Number four, you have no boundaries. And let me tell you now, if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. Okay. Now, children challenge us. Okay. They are consistently looking to expand and grow, and they are constantly pushing. They're like little velociraptors. If you've seen Jurassic Park, right? Imagine like the velociraptor that's going around testing the perimeter. That is what your children are doing. And if there is a weak spot, oh my goodness, they are going to find it, or a vulnerability, they're going to find it, and they are going to press on it hard. Now, the problem is if you have this shows up when you have no boundaries, when you are giving in because you want them to like you, you're giving in because you want an easy life, you are like maybe too tired or whatever, and you're letting things go. Now, I just want to say that there is an element of choosing your battles with parenting and raising children, absolutely. But there's a big difference between choosing your battles and having doormatitis and allowing your children to walk all over you, okay? Boundaries are absolutely necessary for our own integrity and our own internal sense of self and worthiness, which we're going to come on to as well. Your integrity as a container is absolutely everything. So if this is new and this is number 4, please own it. If you're not feeling confident about holding a boundary, please own this. This is number 4. Let me just have some of my water. Oh, my little tiger cup. Can you see that? Oh. Right, number 4. Number 5 with my notes. Oh, this is a big one. Okay, you're having to win the point. So you're getting you are lowering yourself to your children's level in order, and you're getting involved in a tit for tat argument. Now, this means that you are not prioritizing the relationship over the job that needs to get done. And here's the problem. If you do not invest in your relationship, if you're just barking orders at your children, but you're not spending any quality time with them, how do you expect them to listen to you? I wouldn't listen to somebody like that. Okay. Or it means that you are operating from a place of fear and stress and control, because all of stress and control comes from fear. Okay. And here's the thing. The minute you engage on their level, on an energetic level, you have already lost. Because when you stand in your power, which always comes from an energy of love, by the way, you don't need to get into that, because your children, they can feel it. They know when you are serious. No raised voices, no manipulation, no coerciveness, no stress control reactiveness. Okay? Just strong integrity container. So if you are feeling that you need to win the point with your children and you're getting into tit for tat and they're trying to manipulate you, this is a big problem. If this is you, please own it. Please, please own it right now. Where is my number 6? Oh, number 6. This is a big one. I struggled this one for a really, really long time. And this was because of my own vulnerabilities. Your child is doing something and you are making it mean something. And this is always based on a vulnerability in your past. And this means, as we've talked about, that you have unhealed wounds, limiting beliefs, and stories. So what I want you to invite you to think about is your child says something, and just before you lose it, there is a little moment, okay? There's a little moment of vulnerability where you've been hit on a wound or a thorn. Perhaps you don't feel respected, perhaps you don't feel listened to, perhaps there's an emotional wound that you are not worthy of somebody's time and attention. All of these stories that are going on for you, right? These are your unhealed wounds and limiting beliefs that are showing up in your parenting. It means you are not actually seeing what is actually happening right now in the present moment. It means you're completely parenting in the past, okay? And that means you can't guide or help your children, because what happens is then anger comes in as a defense mechanism to cover up that feeling of vulnerability. Because when we are angry, we feel completely justified in behaving completely outlandishly, right? Like we can stomp, rah, 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 and we feel justified. But actually, the reason we have attached a meaning to something based on an unhealed part of ourselves, you are then projecting, you are taking that anger and you are then projecting that onto your child. And these are then going to become your child's limiting beliefs and stories, right? You know your inner voice, your critical inner voice is coming from your parents. You know that you have a critical or controlling adult in your childhood if you have those things going on for you. But what's happening is then you are taking those and then you are in turn handing them down. What we do not transform, we transfer to our children. Okay? Shizzle travels down, people. Okay? If you do not take responsibility, your ability to respond instead of react, and own your shizzle, you are going to project them onto your child, and they are then going to use that lens to run the rest of their lives just as you are, okay? Or the other thing is you're having expectations. You're holding the expectation about how things should be working out, and when what's happening is not meeting with that expectation, that is where the stress lies. And again, that means you are not working with what is actually going on. You have a desired outcome, okay? Our ability to be able to flow like water and be flexible with our children is absolutely vital. So if this is you and you don't think you're parenting in the present, please own this bad boy now. Okay, number 7. You're not listening to yourself, babes. You are looking outside of yourself for all of the answers, and you think perhaps that strategies and techniques and things are going to be enough. Now, I can give you strategies and I can give you techniques. But what I do know for sure, and I know you know this, is that techniques and strategies, they work for a certain period of time, and then your child shifts and grows and they change, and then it doesn't work anymore. The problem is, if you're focusing on the technique and the doing, it means you are not focusing on who you need to be. Okay? It's who you need to be to raise a wholehearted child, not what you need to do. And that comes with ways of thinking and feeling, because thoughts drive feelings and feelings drive behavior. So it all starts in here. But if you're not in the present moment and you're not listening to your inner voice, you've got absolutely no chance of raising a wholehearted child, because you're looking in all the parenting books and Google, you're asking Google how to raise your child. You do have all the answers. You have all of the answers. In fact, 90% of my work with parents is helping them find their own answers and helping them find their own clarity. I don't want to give you, I have answers for you. I don't want to give you all of the answers. I want to help you find your own answers. That is so much more powerful, so much more powerful for you and your life. So number 8, you don't trust yourself. So what I mean by this is perhaps you can hear your inner voice. Oh, what happened there? Wait me just one moment. There we go. You perhaps hear your inner voice, but you're not trusting it. And doubting your power gives power to your doubt, babe. And I would imagine, please own this if this is you, that you are scrolling, using food, alcohol, sex, shopping, internet, gambling, who knows, all of these numbing type behaviors to numb the fact that you are not living or standing in your full power. You know that you are not living to your full potential. And I'm telling you now, you are not afraid of failing. You are afraid of how successful you could be. You are actually more afraid of your power. Most people are more afraid of change and navigating change, and you are looking for permission. I mean, seriously, you want a permission slip? You have permission to be yourself. You need nobody's. There you go. You have permission to be all of you. And we're going to talk about how we do that as we go through this. You don't need any validation or external permission from anybody else or somebody else. You have to believe in yourself. And you also have to really believe in your child, because that is the story and the belief that they are creating, and that lens that they are creating right now. The cost of staying in that place is that you are going to continue trying to numb yourself instead of stepping into the life that you know that you deserve. Now, I always say to people when people work with me, don't come and work with me unless you want your life to change. I am the queen of transformation, and I want your life to change. I'm guessing you're here because you want stuff to change, right? Okay, if this is you, please own it. And let's move on to number 9. Number 9, your perspective is off, babe. And what I mean by that is you're looking at your child's behavior and you want your children's behavior to change. This is just a perception issue, okay? Now, this is showing up for you, and you know that you are doing this. If you are judging your child or going, really, why would you do that? The minute you judge your child, you have lost any hope of helping them whatsoever. Okay. Now, this is not your fault. This is how we've been programmed to, we're programmed with all of the social media and all of the perfection, right? We expect perfection all of the time. Raising children is messy, babes. But the minute you judge your child, what you do is you make yourself separate too. You make yourself above than. And the minute you have separation, you have lost connection and you've lost any ability to guide your child to a solution. And if you are focusing on your child's behavior, first of all, there's the biggest problem. Because remember, thoughts drive feelings and feelings drive behavior. If you're focusing on the behavior, you're not focusing on what's going on underneath the behavior, which is the thought, which triggered a feeling, which has then triggered a behavior. Okay? You are looking for a magic bullet, right? You are the magic bullet, mama. Papa. This is a process. Changes the way that you think and you feel are practices, but they are so incredibly life-changing and so easy to learn when you know how. Okay, I would just invite you to think about now whether your child is actually being difficult or whether your child is having a difficult time. Because just that reframe there, when you understand that your child is actually having a difficult time, what that does allows you to show up with compassion. That allows you to show up in a way that is actually going to help them, as opposed to standing above and judging them. So if this is you at any point, please own this and let us move on. You can't fix the behavior. You can't focus on the problem. You have to focus on the solution. And that is what is going on underneath the behavior. Number 10. You have forgotten who the freaking hell you are. You have forgotten that you are a magical, limitless creature who is capable of so much more. If you could only just get out of your way. I'm going to bring this back, but I wanted to make this I like to accentuate certain things in my training. Okay. If you had any, I know what you are capable of, and I know, and so do you, that you are capable of so much more. If you honestly think you are living to your full potential, please message me. But I know I'm not. I haven't even got started yet. I have gone from where I was 4 years ago to 2 albums, TED Talk, working all over the world, speaking in early childcare, online program, the book is coming in just 4 years, and I am only just getting started. If I knew this, if I knew these lessons when I was 6 or 7 years old, can you even imagine what would be possible for you, for your children? Sorry, I get all excited. I'll get off my little soapbox now. You have become so disconnected from your source, from your purpose, from your joy, from your creativity. You are not a victim of life. You know, I know it can sometimes feel that you are not in control and that you are like a boat being tossed around by the ocean. But babes, I'm here to tell you that you cannot blame anybody else for where you are in your life right now. Every single choice that has brought you to this moment is just a decision based on thoughts and feelings. And I'm here to remind you that you have a rudder and you have an oar. And at any point, you can choose to change direction and start rowing. Okay? And the more that you do that, the more that you are going to show and demonstrate to your children exactly how you show up in a wholehearted life, which is the absolute only thing that you can do. It is your job to be the model and not the mirror for your children. If this is you and you are drowning and you just I'm in there somewhere, baby, I've lost myself in the stormy seas of parenting, please, please, please own this. I want to be really, really clear. All of these things, none of this is your fault. Move my notes out of the way. This is a combination of your program combined with your own emotional wounds that you have gathered through your life as you've gone through. Okay, now I want to take a little bit of time to talk about emotional frequency. So as you go through your life, life is like death by 1,000 cuts, right? And you are constantly absorbing emotions and shocks and traumas, which is held in your body and your nervous system and your psyche and your energy field. Okay, I want you, just invite you to think about this just for a moment when somebody says something quite mean or hurtful and you feel it here. What happens is when your children or yourself are not free or feel safe enough to express those emotions, they become trapped. Okay, so it's a little bit like where's my pen? Give you some tiger art. So I'm just gonna get rid of this a moment. Okay, just tiger art, shall we? So we're all born completely and utterly whole. Okay, this is you, limitless, perfect, right? And then what happens is somebody says something mean, the pen's not working, somebody says something mean or you get hurt. And so what happens is you cover up just a little part of yourself like that. And then somebody else says something, or perhaps they say, I don't know, that they don't want to be friends with you anymore. And, oh, you feel that too. So you kind of hide another little part of yourself. Okay? And so what starts to happen is we start to create the ego or the false self, right? And so gradually what happens is we are building this false self or separation, if you like. Okay, now this is normal and healthy. Everybody has a healthy sense of ego. There is a healthy sense of ego. But I also know that you know people with fragile senses of selves who have perhaps this armor that they're building up has become too much. And it's really there just to protect wounds and trauma that they are not able to go in and look at and express. Okay. And what happens? You see like adults that are toddlers trapped in adults' bodies, right? I've been out with a few until this happens. And so what happens is when your child does something, when we were talking earlier about your child doing something and making it mean something, they're pressing on one of these unhealed parts of ourselves. Okay. And that is when you are getting triggered. And so most of the work that I do is about helping and healing and helping parents understand and acknowledge what these triggers are so that they can release them and step much more back into the fully limitless, wholehearted self. Because all emotions have frequency. And I know that you know this, and I know your children, and you know this, right? Because I know that if you ask your children who they really like, they'll tell you someone who's funny and kind for definite. And I know that you know when somebody's really fizzy and excited, you can feel it, right? I hope you can feel my fizziness today. And I also know that when somebody is frightened or angry, you can feel that too. You can feel when somebody is depressed and sucking the life out of you, because all emotions have frequency. I'm not going to go into detail on this today because it's something that we do in our program. But just to give you an understanding, that is what's happening. This is the armor that you have built. How clever and incredible you have been, your sense of self, to protect yourself in this way. But it is no longer serving you. Okay? So this is your program, the stories that you've absorbed, the unexpected emotional wounds, trauma, for want of a better expression. So then the answer or the question really becomes, what is it that you really want for your child? Do you want them to be wholehearted, or do you want them to be like this? Do you want them to be begging for love or needy or chasing after love because they don't feel worthy or enough? Or do you want them to stand in their power? Because I know what I want for my children. And I know that all of that comes down to me, the work that I do and the inner work, and how that shows up in my parenting every single day. So, a little bit of a coaching exercise for you. I would really love for you to write in your journal 5 qualities that you want your child to have. These are the things that you would love your child to be or have. Press pause on the training now. Have a little think. Put a minute or 2 into it and think about what it is that you want. Okay, so hopefully now you have your 5 attributes or values. And I always love seeing what comes up for these, because it's always the same one that comes up. Happiness always comes up. Confidence always comes up. People want people to be, I don't know, like live their best life. They want them to be kind. And I want all of those things for your children too. And we're going to come back and look at those in a minute. But the thing that is going to hold all of that together, whether your child has those attributes, is you. The integrity of you as a container for your child is literally everything. Remember, your children are going to be testing you. How are you going to show up? Are you going to show up with happiness or courage or kindness or any of those things that you say you want for your child? Because they are absorbing absolutely everything. The connection that you have with yourself is the thing that's going to fuel all others. It's the thing that's going to affect your relationship with your child. And everything, all healing, happens in relationship. Some people come to find me because they want me to fix their child's behavior. They're looking for a magic bullet. You're the magic bullet, babe. Everything that you do affects the balance because you're in a ship, right? So you do something, a change this end, it affects the balance. You respond in a different way, it changes the outcome. It can be no other way. If you want your children to regulate their emotions, guess what? You have got to be able to regulate your own. If you want your children to deliver excellent apologies, guess what? You have to deliver excellent apologies. And I know you already know this. It's why when you lose your shizzle, you feel guilt and shame. Those are those lower based emotional frequencies that are telling you, they're trying to talk to you, to tell you that something needs to change. So let's talk about the one thing that's going to stop you and your children from living to their fullest expression. And it's really, really simple. It's fear. That's all it is. Fear. People trapped in their head. Now, trust me, the judgment-free zone, I spent probably 10 years of my life trapped in my head, ruminating, going over and over, reliving things with something called cognitive dissonance, where you are trying to marry up your reality to what is actually happening, which happens a lot in psychological abusive situations. It's just, and all the fear is just thoughts, and it's just feelings. That's all that it is. And so now I invite you to look at the things that you've written down that you say that you want for your children. And the invitation is for you to give yourself a mark out of 10 right now into how much you are embodying each of those things yourself right now. You are living at a fraction of what is possible for you. I know this because if I knew what I knew now, like back then, oh my goodness, I can't even imagine what I would have achieved. And I'm not saying what I've achieved is amazing, and I'm not trying to brag. What I am trying to explain to you is that 4 years ago, Village Hall, like trapped in my head. Now TED Talk albums, programs, and it's all I've done is change the way that I think and feel. And now what I want to do is I want to help you learn that so that you can bring that to your children, because you, my friend, are the instrument. You are the conduit. This is how I impact children. I can't reach your child. You reach your child. The apple never falls far from the tree. And the things that we want our children to embody are the things that we want to embody ourselves. Ultimately, the goal is to think, feel, and behave much greater than your experiences. Because right now, your children's beliefs are forming. And beliefs are like the engine that drive all thoughts and all feelings for the rest of their lives. 95% of all behavior, completely subconsciously, happening on autopilot. All of that self-sabotage, procrastination, do you even know you're doing it? It's all being formed right now. Because before the critical factor forms, when we talked about that before age 6 or 7, that everything is going in. And then that is the program. That is the program that is going to play out like a hardware, or like a hardware program that's been installed into a computer. That's it. So what is it that you really, really want for your child? So let's talk about the answer to all of it, because this is all quite heavy stuff, right? But there's one simple answer to all of this. And that, Mama, Papa, is love. Love is the answer to absolutely everything. The love that you have for yourself, the love that you have for your child, the emotions that you show up in, how you handle things. And that is exactly why I created the Fear to Fierce experience. For parents like you who want to own it and look back and know that you are raising an awesome child who can live to their fullest expression. So ultimately, you can be the change that you want to see in your children. What is it that you want them to believe about themselves? What are you reflecting? What are they absorbing right now as fact? What is becoming their beliefs about who they are capable of and who they think they're going to be? It all starts with you, babes. So I just want to introduce you to, so this is Sharon. Sharon joined my container. Over a year ago now, a year and a half ago maybe. Yes, she extended. In fact, all of my mamas in my last container extended to stay on with me longer. So I hope that tells you a little bit about the community that we create at LaLa Tigers. But the reason I want you to read this case study was because I want you to understand that these penny drops and these lessons are not just things that you were going to apply to your parenting. These are things that you are going to take into every single area of your life. It's going to change the way that you think and feel for the rest of it. Because what we're doing is we're working on every single level. We work on the physical, we work on the conscious. You have to work on the subconscious and the energetic and the emotions. But the thing that holds all of it together is attachment. It's the connection between you and your child, which is the lifeblood of all that we do at LaLa Tigers. Because one of the things I'm incredibly good at, having spent many years working with children with music, is taking very, very difficult concepts and simplifying them and putting them into play-based, fun activities for you to do together with your children. Because when we increase the connection, guess what? It takes 400 repetitions to form a new synapse in the brain. 400. But only 12 when it is done with a feeling of joy and safety. That is research done by the Child Development Institute, Dr. Karen Purvis, the late Dr. Karen Purvis. You really are the secret ingredient. You bring in a highly charged, energetic frequency of love and play and joy. Increased connection. Oh my goodness. This is why you don't remember anything your parents told you when you were 3. But you remember all of the songs. If you want to know more about that, I have a TED Talk, Inspiring Confidence, Self-Belief in Children with Music. Search it up, Rachel Davis. Please go and have a look and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Because the way that we want to hold you, the way that you need to be held to help you gently undo all of the things that have happened to you that have brought you to this moment. That's the work that we do at Team Tiger. So, last part of the training, let's talk a little bit about the 3-part framework that we use in the Fear to Fierce experience. These are the 3 separate processes that we go through that you need to apply in your lives right now. So I know it says 5, but we're just going to focus on the middle 3. Okay, so we're starting when I believe where most parents are, which is in an energy of fear, of overwhelm, of reactivity, of stress, winging it, which is fear-based. And the first part of the process is to get you to functioning. And in functioning, the first thing you need to be doing is you need to be looking at all the things that are causing you the most stress. And in this part, we need to be working on your connection, working on your relationship, reframing, creating win-wins, turning stress into fun and connection. Once you do that, then you're able to get your head above water, and then we can start getting into the really serious part of the program, which for me is where it starts with focused. With focused, it's a little bit like learning to drive a car. Focus is all about self-awareness. You know, when you learn to drive a car, you sit in a car, you don't go on the motorway yet. What you do is you sit and you look at all the controls and you work out what they are and what they do. And that is what we're doing in the focused part of the process. You have to be super aware of what is going on in your body and aware of your body intelligence. You have to go super aware of what's going on in your thoughts, and you have to be super aware of what's going on in your emotions. And you have to be able to introduce these topics to your children in a way that they can understand. Because every single concept that we talk with you at a very high level is then spoken to your child in a very completely different way. I can't talk to your children the same way that I speak to you about emotional frequencies. Then 4-year-olds do not get that, but they do get it because they can feel it, just like we talked about earlier. So we're spending several months just on self-awareness. And I'm telling you now, self-awareness is the biggest gift you are ever going to give your child and yourself. Because once you're aware of what's going on, just like we did today in the owning it, then you have the ability to change. And this is when we move into freedom. And this is the last part of the program. And this is what I love the most about the work that I do. I get super fizzy and excited. I know you think I probably couldn't get more fizzy and excited, but trust me, I'm like a Labrador puppy on speed when I get into this part of the process. This is where we start to take the car out on the motorway. Now you know what all the things do. Now we get to choice. Now we get to now we start to co-create. We start to work on our own personal vibrations. We start to get into courage and confidence and self-belief and purpose and all of the things that you really, really want for yourself and for your children. Because ultimately, that is how we become fierce. It's a process. And the 3-part framework that goes from functioning to focused to freedom, ultimately the goal is to leave you being fierce, which is owning it, confident, standing in your power and your child doing exactly the same thing. Jordana joined my my beta program actually 3 or 4 years ago with her son Joey, and Joey was a school refuser. He was refusing to. He really struggled. He was being bullied. He really struggled with confidence and self-esteem. But not only did Joey end up going skipping into school by the time we got into our focus part of our program, because he understood what was going on, and we gave him tools and techniques to be able to handle his strong emotions and to understand what was going on and to deal with them. Jordana also managed to get out of her head, and it changed the way that she thought and felt as well. Because remember, what we're doing is we're undoing the parent. On the adult side, it's all about the personal transformation and growth of the parent, the increased connection between parent and child, and then the super intentional messages and the tools and the techniques that then we're giving to your children, enable them to know who they are, to know their worth, so they can show up in their full, glorious, limitless, and live to their fullest expression. Ultimately, babes, this is how I want you to feel. I want you to it's a knowing. It's not even a thinking. It's deeper than that. It's a knowing. And it's going to change your life. Okay, so let's recap. Let's look at all the things that we've learned today. So you've learned about all the things you need to own in order to raise the kind of child that you said you wanted to raise at the beginning of this session. What do you need to work on? Where are the gaps? You've also learned about the way that you think and feel affects your behavior, but also ultimately the way that you think and feel affects your perception, which ultimately affects your experience or your personal reality, which then goes on to affect the belief systems and the fragile sense of self and your child developing mind right now. Excuse me. You've also learned about increased connection and attachment in the relationship, and how that is the thing that is going to build with us. We don't have time today in today's short training to go into the sublime work by John Bowlby on the theory of attachment and connected parenting. But I do encourage you to go and research more about attachment, because that's children think that they are worthy because you show them that they are worthy of your time and attention. It's all about the quality of the relationship. So if you have got all of the feels and you have loved hanging out with me today, I would love to tell you about how you could work with me further. And this is why I've developed the Fear to Fierce experience. We are talking about penny drops and a perspective you can even imagine. I just get so excited about the perspective shifts, because once you open up a vista, once you open up a lens or a way of seeing things for people, you never go back. The learnings in this experience are exponential. They build and build on each other. Each lesson builds on the understanding of the one before. And just one penny drop, babes. Can you imagine how many penny drops you've had today? Just one penny drop can make the world of difference, not just to you, but also to your child. And if you've got a load of penny drops hanging out with me today, can you even imagine how many penny drops you could have by hanging out with me for a whole year? Ultimately, the lessons I want you to take from these are not just things that are going to apply to your parenting. As I said before, this is a prescription for wholehearted living. And what I get excited the most is that the effect that we're having, or the impact that we're having, is not just on you, and it's not just on your child. But I want you to take that out a step further and think about how a child like that is going to impact every single person that they come into contact. Because every person I impact, we create a ripple, we create an army of change until we create a tidal wave of love. And this is an effect that's going to go on for generations. The way that you raise your child is the way that your child is going to raise their children, your grandchildren, and their children. And so the ripple goes on. You don't have to buy 3 separate programs, okay? Because this is like a personal growth program. It's a parenting program. It's like an increased connection and music program. You don't have to buy 3 separate programs to work this out. There is literally nothing like this in the entire world that offers all of this in one place. And it is why that I'm now in talks with early childcare, and that the program that I'm running is now being in an adaptation for early childcare. This is why I'm speaking at the Early Childcare and Education Expo next month. And go, where are we? September 20. We're in July 22. This will be in September 22. There's nothing like this on the planet. But you have to be ready for your life to change, because we have made it absolutely impossible for you not to step into your power. Because it's not just me on Team Tiger. The incredible professionals that we have that support the mamas and the papas going through the process are absolutely beyond. So Michaela joined us. She's a single mum. She joined with her son, who was struggling with confidence and meltdowns. But the changes that we saw the most was actually with Michaela. When by the time she left this container, she'd left a relationship. She was depending on other people and had trapped herself in this situation. Left a relationship, gone out and got a camper van, learnt to drive, gone. I mean, I need you to expect your life to change. That is what I want for you, and that is what I want for your children. So let's talk about what you actually get in the Fear to Fierce experience, because I haven't really talked about what's actually inside it. So the first thing that you're going to get is you get to hang out with me in a small cohort every single month, twice. Our first session is a parent development session where we go really, really deep on the topic, and we actually have a discussion and a coaching session to help you uncover the answers that you need to uncover for yourself. Like I said, this is not a prescription. For your answers. So you get one of those with me every single month, which are normally 60 to 90 minutes. And then you also get access to a live Q&A with me. And I love these so much because these are with all other cohorts. Lots of other people can come to these too, which means you get to meet other parents and you get different perspectives. And oh my goodness, the people in our community are just to die for. They are so glorious. So you get 2 of those with me every single month. These are delivered over Zoom. What you also get is you get a monthly session with Una. Now, Una is like, she's like, I'm like the Labrador puppy on speed. I'm really into personal growth. Una's zone of genius is the emotional security of children. She specializes in it. She's a psychologist. She's a circle of security specialist. She's a brain spotting facilitator. She was a fully trained Steiner Waldorf kindergarten teacher. She's a yoga teacher. She's also now a family therapist. She works in nurseries. What this woman does not know about children's emotions and behavior is probably not worth knowing. But what I love even more about Una is that she's also a mum of 2, a single mum of 2. And she also came through my program 3 or 4 years ago when I first launched it. And it was a much shorter program and much less involved than what it is now. So I feel absolutely honored and privileged to have Una on Team Tiger. And you get a session where you get to debunk and look at what is going on underneath your child's behavior every single month. What you also get, and I love this, these are like gold dust. So let me introduce you to Aren. Aren is my very own personal fairy godmother and energy healer. I credit some of the shifts that she has worked with me into some of the shifts that I've had for myself, not just in my own life, but in my business. She's an emotion code practitioner and a body code practitioner now as well. And she's also an energy healer, and she is going to be working. She also has a degree in psychology, and she is going to be working with you. You get a personal session every single month, working on undoing all of the things that we talked about, undoing all of those emotional wounds and stories. That's a personal session every single month. Now, what I love most about how we're doing this now is that we allow you to use those sessions between you as you see fit at your discretion. So if you need to use some of these with your children, Aren has worked with my children and has changed our lives. You get that too. So you can choose how you want to use them. I would always suggest that you show up and use them for yourself first, so you know what's happening. But you can also have face-to-face sessions with Aren as well, if it is possible. Here's what Michaela had to say about Aren. And I want to just echo this as well. Like, if you've done therapy before, if you've done counseling before, like, talk therapy just keeps you in it. These things are instantaneous. Like the sessions that you'll have with Aren, you'll release stuff, you'll probably have an outpouring, and then you'll just shift. Because as within, so without, and then when you will start to make changes, because suddenly how you feel on the inside is not matching how you're feeling on the outside, and you will need to make changes. What you will also have is our core content, which is the Razor Tiger program. This is the filmed NLP-based, play-based workshops and core content with a workbook and all of the explanations and all of the things to introduce all of the topics, not just to yourself, but to your children. And you'll have access to that. Plus, there's some incredible bonus sessions in there with real experts in mental, emotional, and personal growth, as well as myself chipping in and giving my 2 pennies. You also get access to the Fierce Facebook group. Now, this is gold dust. This is where you can drop in anytime and ask for support, ask to get help. You can ask a question and you can get questions answered from me, normally within 24 hours, normally the same day. We only man this Monday to Friday. But also I love the way that we're running this now. This might sound like it's quite a lot, but we close down over school holidays. So all the work that we do is UK term time only, because our biggest value is connection with our children, and everybody on Team Tiger are mums, and we all want to be with our children when our children are off. That is why we do it the way that we do it. And as Sammy says, like, the community and the mamas that are in this container are off the chart. I feel privileged and humbled to work with every single one of them. The way that they vulnerably share, the courage that they show, the support that they show for each other. It really is a very, very beautiful thing. It is a very, very safe space. So let's talk about all the questions that come up. So how much time are you going to need? Because life is hectic, right? You need around about an hour a week for all of the live sessions. If you can spare us an hour a week, or show up for yourself, not spare us, spare yourself, give yourself the gift of an hour a week. And then you also have then the pre-recorded content that you can go through at your own space or at your own leisure, the workshops to go away and the explanations for you to watch and to then to do with your children. So you need about 15, 20 minutes to do those about a week. Every single workshop that we do with the children are deliberately very short because they have a short attention span. Some of them are only 10 minutes because also some of them are so fun. I'm telling you now, you're going to want to do them more than once. So we deliberately make them short so you can fit them into your day and so that you can repeat them. And can I just say, they are so much fun. You are going to want to repeat them. And like, we're talking house tracks, bad wedding dancing championships, air guitar. Like, I can't, like, don't even get me started on how much fun you are going to have with your children, because like I said, we really, really want to build your relationship as much as possible. And I know that some parents really struggle to get down on their children's level. We are going to drag you down to your children's level, because when you're there, that is where you're going to be able to impart the knowledge that they really need to run a wholehearted life. As I mentioned earlier, we don't work school holidays. This is a 12-month program that is, it'll have 11 modules in it, run over 12 months. The first Facebook group stays open, but we shut for the entire month of August. Because our values is that you hang out with your children, and we're all mums. We want to hang out with ours. We don't want you to be in work. You can always use the time to catch up if you want on any of the pre-recorded content, but there's no live sessions over school holidays so that you can be with your children. Everything is run on a platform called Kajabi. Now, seriously, I am not techie. I'm probably more techie now than I was, but I'm not techie. And this is so super easy to use. All you need is a phone or a tablet or a computer. You log in and it remembers you every time you log in. It remembers where you were, and you just go straight back in. If you've never used Zoom before, we have a team. We can help you with that. But I was pretty much sure that post-pandemic, pretty much everybody knows how to use Zoom. But if you don't, we can help you. Do not worry. Can you bring your partner? I get asked this all of the time. This is such a great question. And if you remember, we talk about the integrity of the container being everything. If you are a single mum and you want to do this program with your mum, please bring her along. If you want to do this with your partner or your husband so that you're all on the same team, absolutely. The only thing to that is that the 12 sessions that you have with the Wren, you would have to split between you, or you could choose to pay further to have 12 sessions for themselves as well. But that can be discussed if and when you decide that this program is for you. If you miss a session, everything's recorded. We send all the recordings out of all of the Zooms. They're not stored anywhere. They disappear after 28 days. So please don't worry if you miss anything. Not everybody makes every single session. Life is busy, but I genuinely believe that you will get everything that you need to get from this container. I genuinely do. So let's talk a little bit about the values that we work to at Team Tiger. So these are the same values that we talk about with our children, which are honest, kind, and brave. And we believe in those wholeheartedly. We don't want to add to the noise, and we don't want to do fluff. We are going to tell you what we think. And we're very, very interested in helping you create a life that lights you and your child up from the inside out. But that does mean that we also have to be brave and vulnerable enough to hold you in those wobbles, okay? And to tell you what we really, really, truly think in a loving, kind way. We don't want to give you all the answers. We need you to find your own answers. Your inner voice is screaming at you, babes. And having gone through this process with so many mamas, we know that there's probably going to be tears. We know there's probably going to be a few little breakdowns along the way. And that's fine. Growth is messy. As my mum always says, if you're going to make an omelette, babes, you're going to break a few eggs. And sometimes it can be really hard to dig in to what is going on underneath the behavior. But we're here for you. And I know what is possible for you. And I think Team Tiger and I, we see your greatness and reflect that back at you, possibly more than you could possibly imagine for yourself. Because ultimately, babes, you are the secret ingredient. And when you feel great and worthy and loved, that gets reflected to your child. We're here for all of it. Because you, mama, are the secret ingredient. Mama, papa, interchangeable by now, I hope. And lastly but not least, brave. We believe in courage. We will challenge you to make change, and we will hold you and hold that space for you to be vulnerable. And we will continually encourage you to trust in yourself and to trust in your inner voice and to make steps towards the life that you really, really want. Because ultimately, Tasha says it beautifully. I mean, I can tell you how amazing my container until I'm blue in the face, but it really doesn't mean much. I want you to hear from Natasha. Natasha was a single mum of adopted child. When she joined, she was in overwhelm, reactive. Her child was all over the place. This is how I want you to feel about your parenting. This is personal freedom. This is liberation. I really, really hope that you come and join me. You never get a second chance to raise a child, babes. Make sure that you raise a tiger. So if you've got all the feels on this and you think that maybe there's something that I can help you with or your child with, if you're stressed or reactive or overwhelmed, or your children are strong emotions, or you just want to introduce the world of personal growth to your children, please, please, please fill out the short form below. I know very, very quickly who this experience is for and who it isn't for. It is really not in my interest to have people in this container that it's not right for, because we're building the most incredible community of just fierce individuals. And I would so love you to be a part of it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for showing up for yourself. Stay fierce.